The entire boardroom went silent when Daniel Kang slammed the financial report onto the table. You stole from my company. Nia Carter stared at him. For 3 years, she had worked for Kang International Group, the largest privately controlled conglomerate in Seoul. She had never missed a deadline, never falsified a number, never leaked confidential information. And now, in front of 14 executives, Daniel Kang, the 38-year-old billionaire chairman everyone in Korea feared, was accusing her of stealing $12 million. Nia slowly looked around the table. Every executive avoided her eyes. Except one. Daniel's younger half-brother, Ethan Kang, was watching her carefully. Not with anger, with fear. Nia picked up the report. This isn't my transaction. Daniel stepped toward her. The authorization carries your employee identification. Then someone used my credentials. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to investigate before destroying my career. Daniel's jaw tightened. You're fired. A few executives lowered their heads. Nia felt the humiliation burn through her chest. But she refused to cry. She placed the report back on the table. Fine. She turned toward the door, then stopped. You know what's interesting, Chairman Kang? Daniel looked at her. For 3 years, I thought the most dangerous thing about this company was the people trying to steal from it. She smiled bitterly. Now I realize it's the people running it. She walked out. Nobody followed. Nobody defended her. Nobody knew that before midnight, Daniel Kang would discover something that would make him wish he had never fired her. Because Nia Carter wasn't just an employee. She was the woman his father had secretly protected for 22 years. And according to a document hidden inside an old Seoul law office, Nia owned half of Kang International Group. 6 hours earlier, Nia had been sitting at her desk on the 34th floor of Kang Tower. Seoul stretched beyond the glass walls, bright beneath the afternoon sun. Her computer displayed a financial model she had spent the entire morning reviewing. Something wasn't right. A $12 million transfer had been moved from one of Kang International's overseas accounts into a private investment company registered in Singapore. Nia frowned. She checked the authorization. Her employee ID appeared beside the transaction. But she hadn't made it. She checked again. Then she noticed something else. The transaction had been approved using an executive security code. That code belonged to Daniel Kang. Nia immediately called Ethan Kang. He answered on the 4th ring. What happened? I found a transfer. How much? 12 million. Silence. Send it to me, Ethan said. I already did. Another pause. Don't touch anything else. Why? Because I think someone wants you to find it. The call ended. Nia stared at the screen. 5 minutes later, the doors to the finance department opened. Daniel Kang walked in. 2 lawyers followed him. And behind them came security. Everyone stood. Daniel didn't. He looked directly at Nia. Come with us. She immediately knew. Someone had moved faster than she had. The boardroom meeting lasted less than 10 minutes. Daniel accused her. The lawyers presented the transaction. Security showed footage of someone entering her office the previous night. And somehow, her access card had been used. Everything pointed toward her. Too perfectly. Nia knew she had been framed. But proving it would take access to the company's internal security system. And Daniel had already ordered that access revoked. When she left Kang Tower, she carried one small box containing her personal belongings. Her entire career reduced to a cardboard box. Outside the building, reporters were already waiting. Someone had leaked the story. Ms. Carter, did you steal $12 million? Were you working with a foreign investment company? Did Chairman Kang personally fire you? Nia pushed through them. She didn't answer. A black sedan pulled up beside her. The window lowered. Ethan Kang sat inside. Get in. Nia hesitated. You're going to tell me I should have trusted your brother? No. Then why? Because if you go home right now, whoever framed you will come after you. Nia looked at him. What aren't you telling me? Ethan opened the passenger door. My father left something. Nia's expression changed. Your father? My father died 6 months ago. I know. He left instructions. For who? Ethan looked directly at her. For you. Ethan drove Nia to an old law office in Jongyo. The building looked nothing like Kang Tower. No marble. No security guards. No luxury cars. Just an old brick building squeezed between 2 modern offices. Inside, an elderly Korean attorney named Mr. Han was waiting. The moment he saw Nia, he stood. His eyes filled with emotion. You look exactly like your mother. Nia froze. My mother? Mr. Han looked at Ethan. You didn't tell her? Ethan shook his head. I wanted you to. Mr. Han slowly sat down. Your mother was named Evelyn Carter. Nia's heart skipped. She hadn't heard her mother's name spoken like that in years. Her mother had died when Nia was 7. According to everything Nia had been told, Evelyn had worked as a translator for a Korean-American shipping company before dying in an accident. That was all. At least, that's what Nia thought. Mr. Han opened an old file. Inside was a photograph. A younger Korean man stood beside a beautiful black woman. Nia recognized the Korean man immediately. Kang Min-jae, Daniel and Ethan's father. Her breath caught. What is this? Mr. Han placed another document on the table. Your mother and Kang Min-jae were in love. Nia stared at him. That isn't possible. It is. My mother never told me. She tried. Then why didn't she? Because your mother's life was threatened. Nia slowly sat down. Mr. Han continued. Min-jae Kang wanted to marry your mother. His family opposed the relationship. They believed she would damage the family's reputation. Nia looked at Ethan. Your family knew about me? Ethan nodded. My father told me shortly before he died. Does Daniel know? No. Why? Because my father was afraid of what he would do. Nia looked down at the documents. Afraid of his own son? Mr. Han didn't answer. Instead, he opened a second folder and pushed it toward her. This is why you were brought here. Nia opened it. The first page was a legal agreement. She read it twice. Then a third time. Her hands began to shake. This says, Mr. Han nodded. Your mother was given ownership of 25% of Kang International. Nia stared at the document. 25. There is more. He turned the page. After your mother's death, her shares were placed into a trust. Nia swallowed. Who controls the trust? Mr. Han looked at her. You do. Nia stopped breathing. Ethan leaned forward. And that's not all. Mr. Han pulled out one final document. This was signed by your grandfather. Nia looked at the signature. Kang Min-jae. The document stated that if Nia's identity was ever confirmed, an additional 25% of the company would transfer to her. Total ownership, 50%. Nia stared at the number. Half. She owned half of Kang International Group, the company whose chairman had fired her that afternoon. The company whose executives had humiliated her. The company Daniel Kang believed belonged entirely to him. Ethan looked at her. My father spent years trying to protect you. Nia's eyes filled with tears. Why? Because he knew someone inside the company wanted you gone. Who? Ethan hesitated. Then he said the name. Daniel's mother. Nia refused to believe it. Daniel's mother, Chairman Kang's widow, had always been portrayed as a respected member of Seoul's elite. Chairwoman Seo Mi-ran. Elegant, powerful, charitable, and terrifyingly intelligent. Mr. Han explained everything. She discovered your mother was pregnant. Nia's face hardened. She knew about me? She knew you existed. And she tried to kill my mother? Mr. Han shook his head. She didn't order the accident. Nia exhaled. But she wanted your mother out of Korea. What happened? She threatened her. Ethan added quietly. My father sent your mother to America. And then, he planned to follow. But he didn't. Mr. Han looked down. Because the company was already under attack from within. Min-jae Kang stayed in Korea. He built Kang International into an empire. But he never forgot Evelyn. Every year, he secretly sent money to support Nia's education. Every year, he received reports about her life. And when Nia graduated from university with a degree in finance, Min-jae arranged for her to be recruited by Kang International. He wanted her close, but he never told her who he was. Until it was too late. Nia's voice broke. He knew me. He saw you once. When, 3 years ago, Nia remembered. Her first week at Kang International. An elderly Korean man had visited the finance department. He had watched her from across the hallway. She remembered him smiling. She remembered him saying, You have your mother's eyes. Nia had assumed he was simply an old executive. She never knew. That was Kang Min-jae, her father. Nia closed her eyes. For years, she had wondered why her mother had kept so many secrets. Now she understood. But another question remained. Why did someone frame me? Ethan's expression darkened. Because your father changed his will. What did he change? He discovered that someone had been stealing from Kang International for years. Nia looked at the financial documents. 12 million. Ethan nodded. The transfer wasn't the beginning. It was a test. For what? To see whether you'd notice. Nia looked at him. And I did. Exactly. Someone had realized Nia was investigating. So they framed her. Then they leaked the story. Then they destroyed her reputation. If Nia had gone home quietly, the plan would have worked. But they hadn't counted on Ethan, or the documents, or the fact that Nia now knew she owned half the company. At 11:47 that night, Daniel Kang was still in his office. He had spent hours reviewing the case. Something bothered him. The evidence was too clean. He opened the security footage again. Nia's access card had been used at 2:13 a.m., but the camera showed no one entering her office. Daniel frowned. He called the security chief. Run the footage from the basement. Sir. Every camera. 20 minutes later, the security chief entered with a pale face. We found something. Daniel watched. A maintenance worker entered the building at 1:51 a.m. He walked directly to the security room. 3 minutes later, the cameras went offline. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Who authorized him? We don't know. Find him. We already tried. The security chief swallowed. He's dead. Daniel stood. What? He was found in his apartment this evening. Daniel stared at the screen. This was no longer an employee theft case. Someone was covering their tracks. Then his phone rang. It was Mr. Han. Daniel almost didn't answer. He hadn't spoken to the old lawyer in years. What do you want? Mr. Han replied calmly. You fired Nia Carter today. Daniel's expression changed. How do you know? Because you were never supposed to fire her. Daniel's voice hardened. Explain yourself. I think you should come here. I don't take orders from you. You will when you see the documents. The call ended. Daniel immediately drove to the law office. When he arrived, Ethan was there. So was Nia. Daniel stopped. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then he looked at Nia. You knew? I know enough. Mr. Han placed the documents on the table. Daniel picked them up. He read the first page, then the second, then the third. His face slowly lost color. No. Ethan said nothing. Daniel looked at his brother. Tell me this is fake. It isn't. Daniel turned toward Mr. Han. Where did you get this? My father left it with me. Your father? Yes. Daniel looked back at Nia. His voice dropped. Who are you? Nia stood. I think you already know. Daniel stared at her. Then he saw the photograph. His father, Evelyn Carter, and a little girl, Nia. Daniel's knees almost gave way. My father had a daughter? Nia's eyes hardened. Your father had a daughter he spent 22 years protecting. Daniel looked down. Why didn't he tell me? Maybe he knew you wouldn't protect me. Daniel flinched. The words hit harder than any accusation. He had fired her, humiliated her, called her a thief. And she was his father's daughter, his sister, half-sister, and half-owner of his company. The following morning, Daniel called an emergency board meeting. Every major executive attended. So did shareholders. The room was packed. Daniel entered last. Nia walked behind him. Whispers immediately spread. Why is she here? Wasn't she fired? What happened? Daniel stood at the head of the table. Yesterday, I accused Nia Carter of stealing $12 million. The room became silent. I was wrong. Several executives exchanged looks. Daniel continued. She was framed. A director stood. Chairman, are you saying the evidence was fabricated? Yes. Then who fabricated it? Daniel looked across the table. At first, nobody moved. Then his eyes stopped on one man. Chief Financial Officer Richard Park. Park smiled nervously. I don't understand. Daniel placed a folder on the table. You should. Park's smile disappeared. Nia stepped forward. The $12 million transaction wasn't created yesterday. She connected her laptop to the screen. Charts appeared. It's part of a 5-year pattern. The executives watched. Small transfers were made through shell companies. Another slide. Those shell companies were eventually merged into one investment fund. Another slide. And that fund is controlled by a company called Hanseong Strategic Holdings. A director whispered. Who owns it? Nia clicked. The answer appeared. Richard Park. The room erupted. Park stood. This is fabricated. Nia remained calm. You used my credentials because you knew I'd find the transfers. Park pointed at her. You're lying. No. Nia looked at Daniel. Tell them who signed the original authorization. Daniel pressed a button. A scanned document appeared. His father's signature. And beneath it, Richard Park's authorization. Park's face went white. Daniel stepped toward him. You stole from my family. Park laughed bitterly. Your family? He looked directly at Nia. You don't know what you're talking about. Then Chairwoman Seo entered the room. Daniel's mother. Everyone stood. She looked at Nia. For the first time, her perfect expression cracked. You. Nia stared back. You knew? The chairwoman said nothing. Nia walked toward her. You knew who I was. Still silence. You knew my mother. The room grew colder. Daniel turned toward his mother. Is it true? She looked at him. Daniel. Is it true? Her eyes moved toward Nia. Yes. Daniel closed his eyes. For years, he had believed his mother was protecting the family. Now he realized she had been protecting a secret that nearly destroyed his sister. But Nia wasn't finished. She looked at Richard Park. You weren't working alone. Park laughed. Don't be stupid. Nia clicked another file. A list of offshore accounts appeared. Then names. Executives. Lawyers. Investment companies. And one final name. C.O. Miran. The room went silent. Daniel turned toward his mother. Mother. She looked at the screen. Her face changed. You don't understand. Nia stepped forward. I understand perfectly. You think I stole from my own family? You didn't steal from your family. Nia's voice became colder. You stole from mine. Daniel looked between them. His mother finally spoke. Your father was going to destroy everything. What? He wanted to give half the company to a child he had with a woman he barely knew. Nia's eyes hardened. You're lying. I protected this company. You protected your position. Chairwoman CEO's voice rose. I built this family. No. Nia stepped closer. My father built it. The room went silent. You simply made sure nobody could inherit it. The chairwoman stared at her. Then she whispered. You were never supposed to come back. Nia smiled. I never knew I was supposed to. That sentence broke something inside Daniel. Because suddenly he understood. Nia had never come to Korea to take his company. She had never planned to challenge him. She had simply worked hard. And his family had nearly destroyed her because they were afraid of the truth. Police arrived 20 minutes later. Richard Park was arrested. Several executives were detained for questioning. Chairwoman CEO was not arrested immediately. Instead, she was escorted away for investigation. But Daniel remained in the boardroom. Everyone else left. Only Nia and Ethan stayed. Daniel looked at Nia. I owe you an apology. Nia didn't answer. I treated you like an enemy. You did. I should have investigated. Yes. I believed the evidence because it was easier than believing someone was manipulating me. Nia looked at him. That's what powerful people do sometimes. Daniel lowered his head. You're right. Silence. Then he pushed a document across the table. What is this? Your father's final corporate instruction. Nia opened it. She read, then froze. What? Ethan leaned over. Daniel looked at them. My father didn't leave you 50%, so you could simply become another shareholder. Nia continued reading. The document stated that Nia would become co-chairwoman of Kang International Group. Daniel would remain CEO. But every major corporate decision would require approval from both of them. Nia looked at Daniel. You knew? I just found out. She laughed softly. So my father planned all this. Apparently. Nia shook her head. He must have known we'd hate each other. Daniel smiled faintly. He probably knew we'd have no choice but to learn how to trust each other. 6 months later, Kang International had changed. Richard Park was awaiting trial. Several executives had resigned. The company had recovered most of the stolen funds. And Nia Carter was now one of the most powerful women in Seoul. But she hadn't changed. She still arrived at the office before everyone else. Still reviewed financial reports herself. Still drank terrible vending machine coffee. And she still refused to use the executive elevator. One morning, Daniel found her standing outside the building. You're late. Nia looked at her watch. I'm 3 minutes early. Exactly. She smiled. You're becoming annoying. I learned from the best. They walked inside together. Ethan followed behind them. A group of reporters waited outside. One shouted, Co-chairwoman Carter. Nia stopped. Yes. People say you took control of Kang International because you wanted revenge. Is that true? Nia looked at Daniel. Then at the cameras. No. She paused. I didn't take anything. The reporters waited. I discovered that something that already belonged to me had been hidden. Daniel smiled. Nia continued. And I decided that if I was going to inherit my father's legacy, I would build something he could be proud of. The reporters began shouting questions. Nia walked inside. Daniel followed. At the elevator, he looked at her. You know, Dad would be proud. Nia smiled. I hope so. The elevator doors closed. And for the first time, Nia didn't feel like an outsider in Seoul. She wasn't the employee who had been fired. She wasn't the woman who had been framed. She wasn't the secret daughter hidden from a powerful family. She was Nia Carter. daughter of Kang Min-jae, co-chairwoman of Kang International, and the woman who had walked into a billionaire's boardroom with nothing, only to discover she owned half the empire. But here's the part nobody in that boardroom knew. 3 months after Nia became co-chairwoman, she received an anonymous envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Her father stood beside her mother. But there was another person in the picture, a young Korean man Nia had never seen before. Written on the back were 6 words. Your father had another secret. Nia stared at the photograph. Then she looked toward the window. Seoul glittered beneath her. She slowly smiled. Because if she had learned anything from the Kang family, it was that every secret had a price. And she was finally powerful enough to make someone pay it. If you stayed until the end, comment half the empire below. And if you want more cinematic stories filled with betrayal, hidden identities, billionaire drama, revenge, and unexpected twists, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because Nia Carter's story isn't over, especially not with what she just found out about her dad.